Welcome to Unit 12. In this chapter we're going to have two lessons. The first lesson is on something called cross-sections, and the second lesson is on something called solids of revolutions. So today we're going to talk about cross-sections. So let's start by defining what a cross-section is. And to do that, we're going to talk about this example right here. Students in Mrs. Denton's class were given cubes made of clay and asked to slice off a corner of the cube with a piece of dental floss. So Jamal used his dental floss and cut this off right here. And he ended up, when you look at it, he got this triangle shape that was left over. And Jabari sliced his cube like this. And he ended up getting this rectangle shape. Each of those shapes are different cross-sections of a cube. So if we come down here, the formal definition, a cross-section is the face formed when a three-dimensional object is sliced by a plane. So you take a 3D object and you slice it. And then two important things, and this is where I see students go wrong. Number one, when you slice it, you're not looking at the part that's left. You slice it and then turn it to look at the shape that the slice makes. So for example, right here, when Jamal cut his cube, we turn and look at the cut that he made. Turn and look at the cut and see that that shape of the cut is a triangle. And same with Jabari right here. We have this rectangle. He cut that off. Turn and look at it and see that rectangular shaped cut. The second important thing about a cross section, number two, cross sections have to be made with one straight cut. So you can't cut halfway through the cube and then change directions and cut the other way. That's not how they work. It is one straight cut. It can be in any direction. So you can cut this way. This is called parallel to the base because you have your thing sitting here and this is parallel, the same direction as the base. You can cut perpendicular to the base, so different direction as the base. You can cut diagonal. You can do all sorts of different diagonals, but you have to do the same direction in your cut. So what we're going to be doing today is taking a bunch of different 3D shapes and seeing how many different cross-section shapes we can get from it. So let's turn to the next page and let's start easy. We're actually going to start with number 6. This one is a sphere. So if I make a sphere, and if you have Play-Doh at home, you're welcome to pause the video, grab some Play-Doh and actually make these and get some dental floss and cut it as we go along if you want to visually see what's happening here. If not, we can just talk about it too. That works. So if I make a sphere, I have this sphere. Any direction that I cut that sphere, if I look at the shape of the cut, it's going to be a circle. Now there might be different size circles. I can make cuts that make very small circles, like if I just cut off this piece here, it makes a very small circle. Or I can make really big circles, or maybe I make a circle this way. But these are all different circles, but it's still the same shape. Sphere is probably one of the most boring 3D cross sections because they're all just circles. It's the only shape you can make from them. Versus, there we go. A cube is one of the most interesting shapes. You can make so many different kinds of cross sections from a cube. So right here, I got a Rubik's Cube. I can cut it this way, and if I were to make a slice this way and rotate it to look at the cut, I see that it would cut a square. I can cut this way and it's still a square. But we saw up here, if I just take the corner and I cut the corner off, that's going to make a triangle. If I cut this side off, that's going to make a big long rectangle. And I've even got a lot more. Let me show you. This one's my favorite. If I do this special cut right here, I get a trapezoid. It's like a rectangle, but one side is shorter and one side is longer. So I got this trapezoid going. We already talked about different squares we can get. We talked about rectangles, so I can cut it that way or this way to get rectangles out of it. Or if I cut it from corner to corner, I get this cool diamond shape. Or, and this one's my favorite, if you cut it very specifically, you can get a hexagon shape out of it, which is really cool that you can get a hexagon from a cube. So those are all the different kinds of cross sections you can get from a cube. There are probably more. These ones are just the most common. Now the reason, and what I want you to put in your notes, you really just need to list the different types that we can get. If you want to try them out, you're more than welcome to pause the video and draw them out, but you just need to mostly know what kind of types we can get. Because on your skill check and test, that's what I'm going to ask you. I'm going to give you a 3D shape and ask you what kinds of cross sections we can get from that shape. Now, let's try another one. Let's do a cylinder. So here's my cylinder. If I cut it up and down this way and I open it up to look at it, I'm going to get a rectangle. You can kind of visualize this by maybe taking a can of food at home, grab a can of food, that's a cylinder, and think about cutting it that way and you get this rectangle shape. If I cut it this way and open it up, I would get a circle. If I do it diagonally, then I'm going to get an oval out of it. Then I can also cut it so that it only cuts off a piece of the cylinder to get a semicircle or a semi-oval. So that's a cylinder. Lots of different options. Let's do some more. Let's try a triangular pyramid. Now this is not like an Egyptian pyramid. This is a pyramid that has a triangle on the bottom and then comes up to a point. So like that. So I have this triangular pyramid, also called a tetrahedron. And I could cut it. There are lots of ways to cut this one to get triangles. If I just cut the corner off of it, I'm going to get a triangle. If I cut straight through the top, that's going to give me a triangle. If I cut diagonally, I can get triangles. Like triangular prism has a triangular pyramid, has a lot of different kinds of triangles you can get. However, like we did with the cube, we can also just cut off one side and get this rectangle shape out of it. And if I'm very clever about my diagonal, I can cut from top down to bottom and get a trapezoid. Now, like I said, there are probably a lot of other different shapes you can also get from this. These are just kind of the basic ones. Now let's talk about a rectangular pyramid. So this one is like the Egyptian Egyptian pyramids. Has a square or a rectangle base and then goes up to a point. So this one, if I cut it this way, parallel to the base, I'm going to get squares or rectangles based on what the base looks like. If the base is a square, then this cut is a square. If the base is a rectangle, then this cut is going to be a rectangle. I can also cut it like that to get a triangle, or I can still cut off the corner like we did before and get triangles. Lots of different triangles we can get. We can get a diamond, which I think is really cool if you cut from one corner at the top to one corner at near the bottom, near the top and near the bottom, you get this diamond shape. And we can also still get a trapezoid from one side down to the bottom. So there's your rectangular pyramid. Let's talk about two more. We have a cone, like an ice cream cone, but filled in. So here's our cone. If I cut it this way, my ice cream cone, cut it, open it up to look at it, I'm going to get triangles. Same thing. And that's only if you cut it through the top corner. If I move it over here to cut it, then I start to get something like this, where I'm going to get a semicircle going. Or if I cut farther up, I'm going to get a semi-oval going like that. And if I cut it this way, if you cut your ice cream cone this way and look at it, you're going to have the circle where the ice cream goes in. Okay, one last one, and then we're done with cross sections. Triangular prism. This is like a triangle but fat. That's kind of how I think of it. You take a triangle, make fat, that's a triangular prism. Here are just a couple that you can get with a triangular prism. If you cut it this way and open it up, we've got triangles. If you cut it this way and open it up, you've got lots of sizes of rectangles from really small to really big. And if you go diagonally, you can get trapezoids. You can also get triangles going diagonally. If we went like this, that would give us triangles too, from going from the corner. So there's your triangular prism. So that is very quickly all about cross sections. For your homework, if you go to the very end of your packet, there's an assignment, and you need to do number 3, 4, 7, 8, and 10, and 11. That's what you'll get a sticker for next time. So that is all about cross sections, and the next lesson we'll talk about solids of revolution.